Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are strapping in for a deep dive into a modern cinematic phenomenon, the disaster trilogy of Makoto Shinkai.
We're talking about the three films that really, cemented his global status. Your Name, Weathering with You, and, of course, Suzume.
And the numbers are just staggering.
Oh, they're unbelievable. Each of these three films is among the top 10 highest-grossing Japanese films worldwide. It's really established Shinkai as the definitive leading voice in what a lot of people are calling the Post-Miyazaki Era.
But it's more than just the box office success, isn't it? It's how these films, which don't share a plot or characters, somehow feel like one single cohesive work. And for you, listening at home, we really want to unpack why they feel so connected.
They are unified by design. It's what film critics call a thematic trilogy. Think of it like a writer telling three completely different stories, but all of them are built on the exact same philosophical question.
Okay, so what's the question for Shinkai?
It's all about love, hope, and natural disaster. Specifically, all three films are just deeply, intrinsically connected to the lingering trauma from the devastating 2011 Tohoku earthquake.
That shared foundation, that national trauma, is the key. So our mission today is to unpack this evolution using four very specific lenses: art history, design method, painting method, and maybe the most fascinating one, the creator's psychology. We want to understand not just the films, but the huge shift in Shinkai's own worldview. Okay, so let's start with the emotional core. The narrative blueprint they all share. They're all standalone fantasies, coming of age, romance. But there's a specific DNA there.
Exactly, and that DNA is this constant tension. You always have the technological, hyper-grounded Japan of today. The neon signs, Shibuya Crossing, all the skyscrapers, and then you have this supernatural, spiritual Japan of the deep past that's always trying to break through.
And that manifests differently in each film.
It does. In Your Name, it's the concept of musubi. This is often translated as just connection, but it's much deeper. Culturally, it refers to the ancient art of weaving threads, which becomes a symbol for time itself being flexible.
Which allows for the body swapping and even traveling back in time.
Precisely. And then in the later films, that spiritual side gets a lot more concrete, almost like folklore.
Right. In Weathering, with you have the weather maiden, the sunshine.
Regional legend, yeah. And by Suzume, you have this whole mythological system that's actively preventing disaster. The closers, the keystones, and these giant subterranean worms causing the earthquakes.
So the spiritual past intrudes on the present, and that intrusion forces the heroes to make some kind of huge, world-altering choice.
That choice is the engine of the whole trilogy. And seeing how that choice evolves, well, that reveals everything about Shinkai's changing priorities.
Okay, let's break that down. Start with Your Name.
The disaster is cosmic. It's Tiamat's comet. And the choice Taki and Mitsuha make is to use their connection to literally bend the universe, rewrite fate, and save an entire town. It's the pure emotional center. It's the fictional rescue that, compensates for the helplessness everyone felt after 3/11.
It's the ultimate fantasy of, I wish I could have gone back and warned them.
Exactly that. Then Weathering with You comes along and asks a much messier question. What happens when you push a miracle too far and the world pushes back? The disaster here is meteorological endless rain that's going to drown Tokyo.
Hodaka makes a very different choice.
A deeply personal, almost selfish choice. He chooses Hina, the sunshine girl, over saving the world. It's the what-if timeline where love defies the world, but the world doesn't just snap back to normal. It stays flooded. It's a morally ambiguous win.
That's such a fascinating contrast. In the first film, love saves the group. In the second, love sacrifices the group.
And then you get Suzume, which is the completion of that cycle. The disaster is pure seismological trauma, the worms. But Suzume doesn't try to stop it or sacrifice the world. She becomes a kind of a cosmic custodian.
She travels across Japan, closing the doors.
Right. Her mission is about confronting her own trauma and really performing a kind of ritualized repair of past wounds. It's the healing narrative. It's about moving on.
And this is where the whole idea of a Shinkai multiverse really comes into focus.
Think about the cameos, like seeing Taki and Mitsuha in Weathering with You. That's not just fan service.
It's more than an Easter egg.
It's a dimensional echo. It proves these worlds are sitting side by side, bleeding into one another because they're all timelines scarred by the same foundational catastrophe, even if it manifests differently. A comet, rain, an earthquake.
So in this multiverse, the laws of physics are basically run on emotion.
Absolutely. Connection and memory are literal magic. Forgetting is what breaks the spell, but remembering reconnecting. That is the only thing that can actually rewrite fate. It's a cosmology with incredibly high stakes.
Okay, we've got the emotional core. Let's shift into the deep dive on craft. We're going to run the trilogy through these four analytical dimensions to really see Shinkai's evolution.
Yeah, we're looking for those subtle shifts in technique and aesthetic that signal the huge psychological change we were just talking about.
Let's start with Dimension 1, art history and aesthetics. Where does Shinkai even fit in the art world?
He really established his signature cityscape aesthetics with your name. He took photorealism and just pushed it to an extreme. Mundane things, a traffic light, a train, a vending machine, are suddenly elevated to the sublime.
It makes the ordinary look more beautiful than reality.
That's the perfect term for it. Hyper-reality. It's this idea that the animated version becomes more sacred, more pristine than the real thing. It's why people started making those sacred spot pilgrimages to the real locations. The animation felt more real.
But that pristine city starts to degrade in the second film, doesn't it?
It does, to match the darker narrative. Weathering with You shifts to what you could call the Anthropocene landscape, a world that's been permanently changed by extreme climate. It was reflecting very real contemporary anxieties.
And visually, it was all about mashing up the old and new.
Total urban mythology. You have this ancient folklore, the Sunshine Girl, existing in these hypermodern Tokyo structures, all under this constant driving rain. This was also a big return to the Sakaikei genre.
Ah, right, Sakaikei. We should probably explain that.
Yeah, Sakaikei literally means world type. It's a genre where the fate of the entire world is tied directly to the emotional relationship of the two main characters. Politics, society, none of that matters. It's just about them. Shinkai uses it, but kind of subverts it by having Tokyo stay flooded.
And then Suzume just completely leaves the pristine city behind for something.
Right.
Haunting.
It introduces the ruins aesthetics. The film takes you to real abandoned places in Japan, empty schools, closed down theme parks. And this wasn't just a visual choice. It's a powerful commentary on population decline and the physical scars left by disaster.
So the art itself becomes a form of remembrance.
Exactly. It's commemoration art. The act of rendering these forgotten, empty places with such incredible detail is a ritual in itself. It's a way to acknowledge and appease that traumatic history.
That is a massive journey, from the idealized city to scarred ruins. Okay, Dimension 2, design method, the core symbols, and the emotional architecture of the films.
And the evolution here is just brilliantly simple. Shinkai moves from a line to a surface and finally to a point.
Start with your name in the line. It's absolutely everywhere.
Everywhere. It represents connection and intertwining. It's the red thread, the kumihimo knots Mitsuha wears, the fiery path of the comet. Even the film's rhythm is designed like a line. It's driven forward by that rad wimp score like a music video.
Then in Weathering with You, that design language becomes oppressive.
It moves to the surface or plane. The symbols are the clouds, the floodwaters. The logic is covering and submergence. It feels suffocating. And visually, it's all about the vertical axis looking up from these dark, cluttered alleys to that pure world in the sky.
And Suzume brings it all together, consolidating everything into the point or node.
The doors are the literal nodes, the points connecting the realms, the keystones are the points that seal them. It's all about node and closure.
And the stool. We have to talk about the three-legged stool.
Ah, yes. Such a brilliant piece of design. It's intentionally flawed, physically unstable. It perfectly symbolizes Suzume's own damaged family. The missing fourth leg is her lost mother. It provides physical comedy, sure, but it's constantly reminding you of her trauma.
Okay, now for Dimension 3, painting method. This is his signature. Everyone calls him the poet of light and shadow. But how did his actual techniques change?
Well, the constant is his team's mastery of digital compositing. They layer digital light and lens flares over the 2D drawings to get that more real-than-real look.
And in your name, the goal was just pure clarity.
Exactly. The focus was on transparency and clarity. They used super high color saturation, that signature Shinkai blue, to make everything look like a perfect crystalline dream. It's all about ethereal beauty.
But with the store in the second film, that transparency becomes about water.
Right. Weathering with Yu's focus shifted entirely to liquid and refraction. The team became experts at rendering the texture of water spray, splashes, light passing through rain. They famously used the Tyndall effect, which is when you see those sharp beams of light piercing through dark clouds. It just makes the world feel so heavy with water.
And then the final film feels so much more physical. There's a sense of decay.
That's the shift to weight and materiality in Suzume. They moved away from ethereal beauty and started detailing texture. The rust on a railing, peeling paint on a sign, weeds growing through asphalt.
Why that change?
This materiality is meant to convey the weight of time, the presence of history. It's supposed to trigger your tactile memory of real decaying spaces. Even the worm, the monster, was this complex CG fluid simulation. It's oppressive and unsettling, breaking the clean style of the other films. It feels heavy.
Which brings us to our final, and I think most illuminating lens, Dimension 4, creator psychology. We've seen this visual journey from crystal skies to scarred earth. What does this tell us about Makoto Shinkai's own internal journey?
It reveals a profound evolution. I mean, he moved from an artist concerned mostly with his own aesthetic to one focused on national healing. He went from being a solitary poet to a warm closer.
So for your name, his psychological state was about compensating for regret.
Yes, Shinkai was giving the nation a direct fictional cure for the powerlessness felt after 3/11. It was his way of rewriting a traumatic reality. Psychologically, it was him stepping away from his earlier, more melancholy work to really connect with the public and offer collective relief.
But then came the massive success and the pressure that brings.
Which leads to the psychology of the second film. Assertion of self and rebellion. After Your Name, everyone wanted another fictional rescue. He refused. The ending of Weathering with You, sacrificing Tokyo for Hina, was his declaration of independence. He refused the expected morality of self-sacrifice.
He was basically saying, I know what you expect, but I'm choosing my own path.
Exactly. His stance was, the world is already crazy and broken. Personal happiness is a valid choice.
Which leads us to the final, mature phase in Suzume. The private battle is over. Now it's about public healing.
It's the phase of reconciliation and social responsibility. He's moved from the private space of two lovers to a public one of national mourning. The film is like a national psychologist, giving the audience a ritual to process real trauma.
And that one line, I am your tomorrow.
That's Shinkai closing his own loop. He's no longer the child seeking rescue from his earlier films. He's the adult offering comfort to the next generation. It's not about rewriting the past anymore. It's about accepting it so you can move forward.
So if you look at the whole trilogy, the grand trajectory, he moves from a writer obsessed with the distance of love to one obsessed with the depth of national trauma.
He evolved completely. He realized that drawing the most beautiful sky, like in Your Name, wasn't enough. True artistic strength and social utility came from drawing the texture of rust, the weight of the scarred earth.
And the journey for us, the audience, is right there in the visuals. We went from gazing at the stars in Your Name to staring down the storm and Weathering with You, and finally to Feet on the Ground in Suzume.
The trilogy's ultimate message seems to be that art shouldn't just be an escape. It can be a necessary mechanism for social healing. It urges us to close the door on our pain so we can actually build a tomorrow.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you to mull over. Suzume closing the doors across Japan is widely seen as Shinkai closing the door on this huge decade-long chapter of his art, his time processing the 3/11 disaster. So if he has finally said everything he needed to say about disaster and healing, what essential new question will his art compel us to ask next? What's the defining theme for the next era of Makoto Shinkai?